Good morning, students. Anybody there? Good morning. Okay. How was your exam? I feel that your exam was good. All of you happy about it. I hope. Okay. Shall we begin the show? Come on. Up to the last class, I have discussed about how there is a development of fruit, and before that we discussed some things related to morphological description. Okay, now from this class I will begin the concept of seed. The concept of seed. See, tell me, what are the plants in the plant kingdom can produce seeds? Okay, I hope you are saying the right answer. There are two groups of plants in the plant kingdom can produce seeds. First one, gymnosperm. Another one is angiosperms. Okay, well done. Then come to the statement. What is a seed? What is a seed? Seed is nothing but fertilized ovule. Fertilized ovule. Generally, seed is a fertilized ovule. Remember, if anybody asks, out of the seed and fruit, which is the characteristic feature of angiosperms? Of course, it is fruit, because in angiosperms, around the ovules, ovary is present. Ovary is the source for the development of fruit. But seeds are common in case of our, okay, all variety of spermatophytes, which are nothing but both gymnosperms as well as angiosperms. Then come to the story. Now the question here arises, you said seed is nothing but a fertilized ovule. Is there any chance that a seed can be produced without fertilization? Think about it. Post your answer in the comments. But remember, we have seen the same way. A fertilized ovary is nothing but fruit. There is a way to produce fruit without fertilization. The process of formation of fruit without fertilization, we call it as parthenocarpic fruit. We know that much. Is it okay? Next one. When it comes to formation of seed without fertilization, formation of seed, be careful. I'm not talking about formation of fruit without fertilization. Seeds typically produce, okay? Seeds typically produce by the process of fertilization. But there is a process in which a seed can be produced without fertilization. We have studied this process in second year sexual reproduction in flowering plants, commonly which is called apomixis. If you know the answer, very good. If you don't know the answer, remember. That's way to grow. Okay? Then come back. If you are talking about a seed, you said seed is a fertilized ovule. What are the parts a typical seed possesses? A seed possesses, first one, seed coat, seed coat. Next one, a seed may possess endosperm, endosperm. A seed may possess embryo. These are the parts a typical seed should be having. Okay. Next one, I will write a typical seed. Imagine it is a seed. Consider at least. Consider it is a seed. Okay. In this, the seed will have something that is called a scare. Scare means a small notch on the surface of the seed. This scare we call it as hilum. Hilum. Okay. Think about this. I am arranging the seed in up and down order. This is the order that is given in our NCRT book. Okay. Below the hilum, there is a small pore present on the seed coat. That small pore, we call it as micropyle. Micropyle. Actually, when it was in the form of ovule, this body is called micropyle. Now we will call it as seed pore. Seed pore. It is present below the hilum. Careful, ma. Below the hilum. What is hilum? Hilum is nothing but the part of, for example, this is a placenta. We have learned ovules developed on the surface of placenta. This is the placenta on which a ovule has been developed. So the ovule must be attached to the placenta or the ovary. By using this part, the ovule was attaching to the placenta. Later, when the ovule has become seed, in that area, it is arranged like a hilum. That's about it. Next, let us consider seed coat. You know, if I talk about seed coat, seed coat, seed coat is nothing but the ovule and its external layers. Do you remember? There was a concept with related to ovule structure where outer covering of the ovules we call it as integuments. Integuments are the structures later converting in the form of seed coat. Over there, if a seed coat has two distinctive layers, in that case, a seed coat, outer part of the seed coat is called testa. The inner one is called tegmen. Tegmen, the outer one, and the inner one is called our tegmen. Anyhow, this is a distinctive, generally, a typical angiospermic ovule possesses two integuments. The outer integument will be converted in the form of testa after the fertilization. The inner one will be converted in the form of tegment. That's about seed coat. Further more details we discuss in sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Next one, endosperm. Remember, when you talk about endosperm, I am talking just primary details of them. Endosperm. Imagine a statement. Endosperm is the reserve food material present most of the cases in case of monocot. It's not the meaning that a typical seed definitely should possess endosperm. For example, if you are talking about presence and absence of endosperm is a criteria in case of dicots. Generally, be careful, generally in dicots, endosperm absent. Endosperm is absent. The such kind of seeds which do not have endospermic seed, they call endosperm, they are called non-endospermic, non-endospermic or X-albuminous seeds. X-albuminous seeds. This is a typical case of dicots. But wherever there is a statement in our morphology, there could be some kind of exceptions. If you go through exceptions related to dicots which is having endosperm, some dicots with endosperm, some dicots with endosperms. In that case, one example given in our NCRT book, that is castor. But apart from that, we add solanum, tomato, okay, and also other members of Solanaceae. Very, very important. This is, I think so, it is also mentioned in our NCRT book. There is a family of dicot that possess endosperm. That is Solanaceae family. Generally, dicotyledonous seeds do not have endosperm. But one exception of NCRT book mentioned directly over there in the concept of endosperm, that is castor. Don't mistake, castor is not belongs to Solanaceae members. Castor is belongs to other members of the family. We will discuss about them later. But anyhow, under the families of Solanaceae, okay, endosperm is present. Next one. Non-endosperm seeds. For example, most of the non-endospermic seed, most of the dicots. I'm talking about most of the monocot seeds, endosperm is present. Most of them. For example, wheat, maize, rice. You can take many monocots. Most of them will have endosperm. Such kind of seeds are called as albuminous seeds. Albuminous seeds, or you can call it as endospermic seeds. But for this also there are exceptions. The general rule of dicotyledonous seed is not to have endosperm. The general rule of monocotyledonous seed is having endosperm. For a dicot, there are exceptions, and at the same time, monocots also are having many exceptions. Over there, one exception, if you notify, orchids. In case of orchids, endosperm, orchids are monocots, but in them endosperm is absent. But one particular thing I wanted to notify about orchids, look at this statement. During at the time of double fertilization, zygote develops into embryo. I mean zygote, after that embryo. Next one, secondary nucleus develop into primary endosperm nucleus, and then it will be developed into endosperm. This is the rule what we studied. But when it comes to orchids, they do not form endosperm at all. Very clear. Generally, if you take a dicotyledonous seed, which I said endosperm is absent in them, endosperm initially formed. The embryo, which is growing in enlargement, the embryo is consuming the endosperm, so that the endosperm is absent. Careful. Endosperm has been formed in dicotyledonous seeds, but that endosperm was not present in a matured seed. That's why I said a seed is non-endospermic seed. Careful. There was a formation of endosperm, but the endosperm has been consumed by the embryo. That's why the seed, which is matured one, does not possess a matured ovule. In fact, it does not possess endosperm. But when it comes to orchid, the story is different. Orchids monocots, but they do not form endosperm at all. They are very tiny seeds. They produce very tiny seeds, hundreds and thousands of tiny seeds they produce, but none of the seed can have endosperm. Actually, a monocotyledonous seed become enlarged due to the presence of endosperm. Since there is no endosperm in the orchid seeds, they produce numerous seeds. Thousands of seeds in one fruit they can able to produce. So keep it in mind. This is the story of endosperm. Next one, come to embryo. They are saying something that is related to embryo. You take an embryo, Embryo possess mainly two parts. Embryo. One is cotyledons. Cotyledons. If anybody says, does the cotyledon is a part of an embryo? Of course. Cotyledons getting enlarged sometimes. Sometimes they do not get enlarged. But anyhow, cotyledons are a part of embryo. They are not a part of endosperm. I understood. Many students have got confused in this. If they say cotyledon is generally they say, what is the ploidy of cotyledon? Most of the time they are choosing endosperm triploidy as the ploidy of cotyledon. Cotyledon belongs to embryo, not to the endosperm. Next one. When it comes to embryo has another body that is called embryonal axis. Embryonal axis. It is also called tigellum. That's another story. But remember, embryo has two parts. One is cotyledon, another one is embryonal axis, the body of the embryo on which everything is attached. You say, if I observe one statement like this is a plant axis. If I say it is a plant axis, typical denotion of plant axis is stem, because on the stem remaining all parts of a plant attach. That's the reason why axis means the center on which the remaining organs are attached. Similarly, there is a body called embryonal axis. Let us consider, if a seed has two matured cotyledons, two cotyledons are there, that seed I am calling it as dicot. It's not my opinion. It has been scientifically mentioned as dicot. And if a seed has single cotyledon, then it is called monocot. Well done. Single cotyledon, monocot, two cotyledons, dicot. Let us take first one. How does a typical dicotyledonous embryo look like? Typical dicotyledonous embryo I am talking. I am not saying dicotyledonous seed. I am saying typical dicotyledonous embryo. I told you a seed may be having other parts also, seed coat, endosperm, etc. Now my target of discussion is embryo. How in a dicotyledonous seed embryo is arranged? Simple. It has an embryonal axis, as I said. This is consider embryonal axis. Don't mistake it is a chromosome. It is an embryonal axis. Okay. In the embryonal axis, it's an elongated body. Lower end, I am considering it as radical, which is in future would be converted in the form of root system. The upper tip I am calling it as plumule. You can call the plumule as shoot tip, radical as root tip. No worries at all. In this case, around the embryonal axis, there are two enlarged cotyledons are present. There are two, most of the cases, both are in equal size. Enlarged cotyledons are present. Imagine a statement, if it is a dicot, it may have root cap, but on the plumule, there are no any kind of, this has root cap, because in the future, this is the part which has to be penetrated in the soil in order to establish this whole body as a new plant. In this case, plumule, no any kind of covering, but in case of radical, radical is covered by root cap. Okay, well done. Then come to the statement. In this, these bodies I am calling it as cotyledons. Then why a dicotyledonous seed is producing two cotyledons? The reason is this. During at the time of seed development, whatever the endosperm has been developed by the division of primary endosperm cell or primary endosperm nucleus. That endosperm completely consumed by embryo, this body. After consumption, whatever the energy that it has been received from the embryo, it has been received from endosperm, that endosperm will be stored, or that energy will be stored inside the cotyledons. In future, when the plant ready to germinate, or when the embryo ready to be germinated, whatever the energy which has been stored inside the cotyledon will be consumed, and this plumule will be grow like a shoot system, and the radicle will be growing like a root system. That is the intention of development of two cotyledons. I would say cotyledon store food. Well done. These are the parts that are present in a typical dicot seed. Exactly to say, dicotyledonous embryo. Next one, take a monocot embryo. It does possess an embryonal axis. This is its embryonal axis. Next one, it also possesses two cotyledons. Be careful, it possesses two cotyledons, but one cotyledon is enlarged and shield shaped. This shielding of entire embryo by one single cotyledon, we call it as scutellum. Okay. I said it has two cotyledons, but another cotyledon will be immature. That immature cotyledon are also called the rudimentary cotyledon. It has a name called epiblast. Next one. When we say about dicotyledonous seed, we mention dicotyledonous seeds can able to store food in their cotyledons. Monocotyledonous seeds never store food in their embryo. They have this food resource that is in the form of endosperm. I will show it later. Now come back to the story. This single enlarged cotyledon, which is shielding the entire embryonal axis, that we will call it as scutellum. The immature one is called epiblast. If anybody directly say a statement, does the embryo of monocotyledonous plants have two cotyledons? Generally not, because this one we should not mention it as cotyledons, but there is a rudimentary cotyledon, immature cotyledon, which has been notified as epiblast. Then when it comes to the bodies, okay, here both dicot and monocot, some kind of things you need to remember. I said in case of dicot, two cotyledons attached to the embryonal axis. The body of our embryonal axis above the cotyledon is called epicotyle. Below the cotyledon is called hypocotyle. Cotyle means cotyledonous area. Epicotyle, the part of the embryonal axis above the attachment of cotyledon, we call it as epicotyle. Below the attachment of cotyledon is called hypocotyle. The same words will also be applicable to our monocotyledonous embryonal axis. This is epicotyle, and this is called hypocotyle. Okay. Epicotyle tip actually call it as plumule. Hypocotyle tip is called radicle. Story over. But when it comes to monocots, it also possesses plumule and it also possesses radicle. The plumule The plumule covered by protection, covered by coleoptile and radical covered by coleorhiza. Radical covered by coleorhiza. Now I would like to mention one thing. When you are talking about embryonal axis, both in monocots and dicots, cotyledon attachment area, above it epicotyle, below it hypocotyle. Hypocotyle tip is called radical, epicotyle tip is called plumule. The up to the statements are same. But when you talk about monocotyledonous embryos are very minute, delicate. That's why the tip of monocotyledonous embryos covered by separate kind of sheath-like tissues. They are epicotyle tip covered by coleoptile, hypocotyle tip covered by coleorhiza. Indirectly, I am saying coleoptile, coleorhiza, these two structures we do not see in case of dicotyledonous embryo. They are exclusive for only monocotyledonous embryo. What are they? Coleoptile, coleorhiza. Remaining all parts. Of course, scutellum is a matured cotyledon of monocots. Epiblast, immature cotyledon of monocots, and the two cotyledons are there in dicots which do not have a special name, just we call them as cotyledons. Got it? Then observe a dicotyledon. These are dicotyledonous seed parts. First I said seed coat, after that endosperm, and after that embryo. Remember, seed coat should be compulsory. Embryo should be compulsory in a seed. Endosperm may present, may not be. Okay. Now in this case, criteria. If I am talking about dicot seed structure over there. Finally, I am describing all those parts at one time. It has seed coat. Consider it has seed coat, outside seed coat. You see this whole structure, as I have mentioned, this is hilum. Below the hilum there is a part called micropyle, but this entire body outside seed coat, inside only embryo. That's it. Embryo with two cotyledons. The edge represent this side one cotyledon, this side another cotyledon. This is called hilum. This is called the seed pore or the micropyle. That's it. But when you talk about monocotyledonous seed, that has some different parts. Imagine I'm talking about one by one from major to minor parts, inner to outer. See, major part of a monocotyledonous embryo or a monocotyledonous seed, exactly to say, is covered by endosperm. This is endosperm. Typically, endosperm is starchy. Endosperm, inside endosperm, major part. Typically, that is starchy. And most of the monocotyledons inside the endosperm, I'm not saying it stores just only like that. Inside the endosperm, there is a storage of starch. I think this structure we are very familiar daily. Daily, 3 times a day, or if possible, multiples of 3. We eat as South Indians too much amount of rice. That rice, I think so, looks like this only. That rice part is what we consume daily. It is nothing but endosperm, major part of it. Is it okay? Then come to the statement. Around the endosperm, there is a protein rich layer. protein rich layer. This protein rich layer is called alluron. Alluron layer. You said inside the endosperm starchy part. What about this alluron? Alluron majorly contain protein. It is a protein rich layer. Next question. Why does alluron layer is present? Alluron layer is the part which separates endosperm from embryo. Where is the embryo? Where is this embryo has been hiding? It has been hiding here. This is the location where the embryo is present. As we said earlier, it has a matured single shield shaped cotyledon, inside it embryonal axis, etc., etc. Careful, this is embryo. Okay. Now imagine the intention of development of alluron layer in monocotyledonous embryo is to separate endosperm from, starchy endosperm from embryo. If anybody asks, exactly this alluron layer belongs to which part? Is it embryo or endosperm? Definitely it is belongs to endosperm. Clear? Next one. Now, inside the seed, major part is starchy endosperm and minor part is embryo. The embryo and endosperm separated by a layer of protein rich part that is called alluron layer. Next one. All these structures are covered by seed coat. All these structures are covered by seed coat. Remember, seed coat present both around endosperm as well as our embryo. But be careful, alluron layer present only around endosperm. It's not present around embryo. Okay? Then, this I am saying it as seed coat. Seed coat. After all this, one interesting thing. Imagine when we take rice which is unpolished. You know rice? Before opening the husk, if you take that, actually it's not a seed, it is a fruit. In that, it has seed coat. Around the seed coat, there is a presence of fruit wall. The seed coat and fruit wall is very thin in case of monocots. The seed coat, around it, there is a presence of fruit wall. This is fruit wall, and the seed coat and fruit wall both are going to fuse and they form a structure called husk. That means when we are removing husk from the surface of the seed or from the surface of rice grain, for example, what we exactly remove? It's not that we are removing seed coat. We are removing both fruit wall and seed coat. Why? Because most of the monocots produces a single seeded fruit. Okay? That single seeded fruit, sometimes it is called caryopsis, sometimes it is called cypsilla, variety of names are there. Anyhow, when you talk about monocots will have seed coat and fruit wall, both are fused together. Whenever both are fused, that is the reason behind the formation of husk. These many structures we don't see in dicotyledonous part. For example, you take a groundnut, which we often eat for time pass. In that case, if you press out the groundnut seed, whatever the part that we remove, which is nothing but the seed coat, the brownish one. But if you take the boiled groundnut, exactly the whole body, the dabba, inside the dabba there are seeds are there. The dabba, what we break to get the seeds, that is fruit. Inside the seed, Around the seed there is a presence of the brown or whatever the color you can see there. Sometimes it is lightish pink, sometimes brown, variety of colors will be there. That part is nothing but seed coat. If you remove the seed coat, directly what you get? Cotyledons. If you open the two cotyledons, between the two cotyledons, a minute knob-like structure is present. That knob is nothing but embryonal axis. But those many simple structures are not present in monocotyledonous seeds. Monocotyledonous seed, most of the area occupied by endosperm. A small minute embryo is present. That embryo again have embryonal axis. The whole body covered by its developed cotyledon that is called scutellum, which never store food. But always dicotyledonous cotyledons are going to store food. But anyhow, there is a presence of in their embryo, coleoptile, coleorhiza. The total part of the embryo will be separated from the endosperm by a protein-rich layer called as alluron layer, and seed coat and fruit wall both are fused together, and there is a formation of a structure called it as seed coat and fruit wall both are fused, and there is a formation of a structure called it as husk. These are the parts what we need to remember regarding to seed. It is dicot or monocot. Let me take some important notes regarding to our morphology. What are the parts that they wanted to mention about seed? Remember, this is dicotyledonous seed they mention. You can see that micropyle is present. Actually, you will read somewhere else. Hilum is a scare coat developed with attached to the fruit. Okay. Above the hilum, there is a small pore. Careful. This is hilum. On the top of it, there is a presence of small pore. That pore is called micropyle or seed coat. You look at these parts. This is the maize seed, what they have taken as an example of monocot. In this much large cotyledon, this much large embryo, you should not expect. For making the diagram, they enlarge the embryo. You can understand, while we are eating a rice grain, you see the small notch, that much embryo only it has. Over here, this is seed, embryo. Over inside this seed, this is endosperm, this is embryo, and all parts of the embryo. Seed coat plus fruit wall, both are going to fuse. That we call it as husk. Is it clear? That's about the thing about seed. So far, we discussed about calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Then we will discuss semi-technical description of a flowering plant. Now, one thing we need to remember very clearly with related to semi-technical description of flowering plants. See, you have learned many characters of a plant. About stem, you have learned many things. About flowers, you have learned many things. Within the flower, you have learned about many variations in respect to appendages. For example, I wanted to describe a plant. Every time if I am writing this much theory, it is going to have lot of, too much theory. That much theory, they wanted to concise and give it in the form of small symbols. These symbols will help us to do easy identification of floral characters exactly. Why are you focusing only on floral characters? You should remember one thing. Vegetative characters, floral characters, when you compare between them during at the time of classification, most of the cases, the classifications which are operated on the basis of reproductive characters were more successful when compared to the systems which were worked on vegetative characters. Why? Because often vegetative characters affected by the environment. If environment is good, a plant may become more tall. If an environment is supporting, the plant may produce large type of leaves. But anyhow, whether the environment will support or not, reproductive characters are not going to be changed. That's the reason why, especially during classification systems, they follow reproductive characters. In order to support the reproductive morphology, they have introduced some technical symbols to notify varieties of characters represented in a plant. So over there, they are talking about with related to technical denotion. We have two ways to write the floral information in short. A flower has petal, a flower is showing this morphology, that morphology. To show that, we have two types of representations. One is floral formulae or floral formula, single, and next one, floral diagram. Both are same, but different ways of representation. Why? Some things we can represent clearly in floral formula, some of the things we represent clearly in floral diagram. Sometimes just floral formula may not be sufficient. That's the reason why they have also introduced another character that is called floral diagram. Anyhow, first we will learn how to represent floral formula and the symbols. Then we will go to floral diagram. Over there, semi-technical description of flowering plants. Semi-technical description, which means about a plant, we wanted to describe its features easily. While we are describing its features easily, there should be some methodology that we should follow in shortcut manner. Every time if we are talking about all the features in all the time, it is not going to correct. That's why they have represented in a shortcut manner. What is that shortcut mechanism of representation? In this semi-technical description of flowering plants, directly I will take NCERT book and I will show you what they wanted to describe. Or else, these things you know already, just for recalling. First one, if you are talking about a flower, before that a plant and its characters, in this, take first one, sexuality of a flower. Sexuality. What type of sexuality it exhibit? If it is bisexual, there is a symbol for that bisexuality. If it is unisexual, in unisexual characters, if it is staminate, staminate means male flower, and if it is pistillate, only female flowers. This is male flower, female flower, hermaphrodite, bisexual flower. These are the symbols. Need not to remember we need not to by heart them separately. Just one or two times practice, they are going to be familiar to you. Next one. After that, symmetry. When you talk about symmetry, for representation of symmetry, we have varieties of symmetries over there. Asymmetric flower and also zygomorphic flower and also radial symmetry, actinomorphic flower, etc. We have seen over there. If the flower exhibit radial symmetry, this is the symbol. If a flower exhibit zygomorphic symmetry, this is the symbol. Or you sometimes we will also write like this. Sometimes they write like this. That is symbol wise representation. Sometimes they also write like this. So any symbol you can use according to your requirement. This is about symmetry. Next, after that, if you are talking about floral features, first one, bracts. If a flower has bract, BR, which do not have bract, EBR, a bractate. You know bracts? On the origin of pedicel, if there are any leaf-like structures are present on peduncle, those parts we call it as bract. We do have another word that is called bracteole. What did I say about bracteole? Bracteole is a part which developed on the surface of pedicel or floral stalk. Anyhow, if they are there, BR. If they are not there, we will say EBR. Next one. calyx. Calyx represented with K. In this case, if you have n number of Ks, remember sometimes calyx, nothing but sepals, there may be 3, multiples of 3, 5, multiples of 5, so many things are there. But anyhow, if you are talking about there is an n number of calyx, and if you kept them as free, this is called polycephalus. And K, N, and you kept that N under a bracket or parenthesis, we call it as gamocephalus. Okay. Next one, corolla. Nothing but petals. C. If n number of C's are there and you kept that n as subscript and left it without any parenthesis, this is called polypetalous. If n has been represented under the parenthesis, we call it as gamocephalus. Now here I wanted to mention one thing to you. Imagine. Parenthesis indicate, for example, if I say like this is also called union of same members in the whole. Same members in the whole. If you united same members in the whole, this phenomenon is commonly called as cohesion. Cohesion. Do you remember? Cohesion of stamen, cohesion of petals, cohesion of any other members of floral organs, we use a symbol called parenthesis. If I kept A under the bracket, androecium is having some cohesion. And if I see G has been kept under the bracket, or n numbers of G are kept as under the bracket, then we will say there are number of gynoeciums, carpels, and they have been kept under parentheses, which indicate they are fused. This is about the thing. Then after that, let us continue with our discussion related to gynoecium and androecium also. Next one. A represents androecium. If n number of A's are there and A has been kept under parenthesis, this condition is called fusing of anther. For example, like this, and free anthers. Free anthers are nothing but polyandrous. And if the anthers are, I mean to say complete stamens, fuse, that phenomena is called as synandrous. Gynoecium. When it comes to gynoecium, G represents gynoecium. If G has n number of carpels, but you kept that n as free, this is called polycarpellary or free carpels. Next one, G kept under parenthesis. This condition is called syncarpous gynoecium. And sometimes it is also called apocarpous gynoecium. One more thing about we need to represent, that is related to G. If I take G and below the G I have kept some kind of line, this indicate hypogynous flower. G above, epigynous flower. G parallel, one line I have written like this. This is called, okay, this is this is perigynous flower. In this case, imagine epigynous flowers will have generally inferior ovary. Hypogynous flowers will have superior ovary. Perigynous flower will have half superior and half inferior gynoecium. These are the symbols. Nothing to worry about symbols. When we are writing their floral formula, generally we apply this symbol randomly. Okay, one or two floral formula when we practice, the symbols are going to become very familiar. These are the symbols that they are representing. Next one, this is floral diagram. Whenever we talk about floral diagram, maximize this one. They are talking about floral diagram. In this case, what are the things we need to remember? See, in floral diagram, there is a dot on one side of the floral diagram. Do you remember this dot represent what? This dot represent mother axis. Mother axis. What do you mean by mother axis? For example, if it is a stem, this is the flower. This side of the flower represented by this dot. This is the mother axis. Mother axis. Okay? Exactly to say, mother axis is nothing but a area where posterior side of the flower would be represented. This is posterior side. Okay? Next, when you talk about floral diagram representation, first one by one. If there are bract outer side, as in the form of same kind of representation, like this, sometimes they write. If they written like this, they have bracts. Most of the cases, they avoid representing the bract, but directly they will begin the story with petals. This is what we call petals, nothing but whole of petals are nothing but corolla. Next one. After that, whole of this is sepal, this is nothing but petals, and there are stamens. Remember, when you see this floral diagram, they have represented stamens. Total number is 6, but they arrange them in 2 rows. One row 2, another row is 4. This condition generally represented dynamous nature of stamens. Remember, when we were talking about dynamous nature of stamens, in case of some flowers, some stamens are in one height, another one another height. For example, when you talk about salvia, you have mentioned there are 4 stamens total in number, 2 lengthy, 2 short. And when it comes to mustard, there are 6 stamens. Out of them, 4 are lengthy, inner 4 are lengthy, outer 2 are short. This is the representation you provided. To show that representation, they have given like this. In this whole, 4. The outer whole, they have 2. That arrangement is called 2 plus 4. Another thing. Imagine a statement. If there is any cohesion and adhesion, the pattern also should be mentioned in our floral diagram. Remember, when I was talking about floral formula symbols, think about a flower has 5 sepals. All are united. How do we represent? We take 5 under a bracket. But when it comes to adhesion and cohesion, how to represent? For example, if you notify here these are sepals, the greenish one. The sepals, for example, they have represented like this. They have been written, these parts are connected, which means they all are attached with one, one sepal will be attached to another. And similarly, these are petals. They have written like this about petals, which indicate what? They are connected with one and another. But in this floral diagram, they did not write like that, which indicate they do not have any kind of attachment. They are free. Okay. One more criteria is there, adhesion. What do you mean by adhesion? Some cases, sepals may attach to petal and form perianth. The members of the perianth would be represented in the form of P. Rules are the same. If you have 3 sepals, 3 petals, both are fused, then we will represent 3 plus 3. under the parenthesis. Is it okay? Same manner. At the time, what to do? We have to write like this: between sepal and petal, there should be a representation of one line like this. You see, both are connected. This connection indicate sepals and petals are not free, both are attached. Getting the statement? Then again, there is another criteria is there. Sometimes, as I have mentioned during at the time of stamens discussion, stamens and petals may going to be attached. Look at this statement. Stamens and petals may going to be attached. If stamens and petals attach, this phenomenon is called as adhesion. When it comes to adhesion, while you are writing floral formula one way, floral diagram is another. Floral diagram is this. This is a stamen or whole of stamen. This is a whole of petal. The whole of petal get connected to whole of stamen with a line. This indicate adhesion. But in the similar way, there is a whole of condition, call it as petals, corolla and androecium. Petal 5, androecium 5 for example, but the androecium has been attached on the surface of petal. This condition is called epipetal stamen. This symbol top, attachment between one member to another member, this indicate adhesion. This indicate what? Adhesion. Is it okay? And this adhesion, this one, both are performing attachment. This adhesion, it is a kind of connection between two different wholes of same flower. Getting the idea? This is about the concept we need to understand related to floral parts, external. Then go to gynoecium. When it comes to gynoecium, look at this. There are in this one, this is a carpel, this is another carpel. Both carpels are fused. If they are fused, they would be kept like this. Under a bracket, they would be kept. This is bicarpellary syncarpous gynoecium. Getting the idea? Now, this is the way to represent floral diagram, and the earlier one we have represent some of the symbols also. But when you talk about, there are some ways we use floral formula, there are some ways we use floral diagram. First one, in a floral formula, some of the characters we can represent. Those characters and floral characters we have mentioned in floral formula, we may not represent them in floral diagram. Got it? In this case, imagine there is a concept is there, estivation. Estivation we can represent in floral formula. Estivation we can represent only in floral diagram. We cannot represent in floral formula. Only in floral diagram. Only in floral diagram. But one more is there, position of gynoecium. What do you mean by position of gynoecium? Hypogynous, perigynous, epigynous. Position of gynoecium you cannot represent in floral diagram. We can represent only it in floral formula. In this case, position of gynoecium only in floral formula, not in floral diagram. Like this, remember, estivation would be represented only in floral diagram, position of gynoecium, and also sometimes number of carpels. Remember, you said, for example, number of carpel, that is bicarpellary syncarpous gynoecium. In case of mustard, what we have seen there you can represent Two carpels are present in both floral formula and floral diagram. But how many locules are present? That we cannot represent either in the floral diagram or in the floral formula. Number of locules. Are you catching the idea? Like this, there are some technical ways we use to represent floral information in a shortcut manner or in a semi-technical manner to represent floral parts. Next one. You see in this, in our NCERT book, they have given a family that is called Brassicaceae for the example of floral diagram and floral formula. See, this is the floral diagram for Brassicaceae members and this is the floral formula for Brassicaceae member. Check it this floral diagram and let us go step by step. This symbol indicate the flowers are actinomorphic flowers. This symbol indicate the flower is bisexual flower. Male, female, both organs are present. Next one, calyx. Calyx, sepals. How many sepals are there in total? There will be a representation of 4 sepals. They represented it in the form of 2 plus 2. Their intention is 2 petals, two sepals inside, 2 sepals outside. Is it okay? And 4. Total number of petals are 4. They are not fused, that's why free. And number of gynoecium are, number of androecium or number of stamens are 6. They are arranged in 2 rows, 2 whorls, inner whorl, outer whorl. Number of carpels in a gynoecium is 2. In that case, the 2 are kept under parenthesis. If you observe parenthesis, this parenthesis or bracket indicate they have been fused. There is a fusion of stamens. There is a fusion of carpels. Carpels have been fused. This condition is called syncarpous gynoecium. Syncarpous. And tell me, what is this line indicate? This line indicate ovary is superior. Ovary is superior and the flower is hypogynous flower. Flower is hypogynous, ovary is superior ovary. Like that, there is a representation of floral diagram and floral formula. Remember one blind thing, if they are talking about whether the ovary is superior or inferior or gynoecium is superior or inferior, most of them the flowers are hypogynous flower, most of the cases. Whatever the families that we are going to describe, in that only one family you will have this line to be on the top. That family is Asteraceae. Remaining all families that we are going to describe will be having this line, the below that flower indicate hypogynous flower and the gynoecium is superior gynoecium. Then come to the families. Now I wanted to tell you one thing regarding to families. Remember when it comes to families, in recent books, recently printed book, there has been mentioning of only 2 families, and in the old NCERT book there are 3 families, but in the syllabus what they have given for the NEET, there are many families have been mentioned. For the discussion, we will discuss all of them. Whenever I started to discuss, I will also inform to you what to remember. What do you mean by what to remember? Imagine a family is not for the sake of one plant representation. Of course, while we describing a family, you cannot describe all the members of a family. We take any one member and we trying to describe it. But those characters exhibited, especially floral characters, when it comes to floral characters, almost all the members of the family exhibit the same type of floral characters. But there are exceptions are also there. But another thing, When we are talking about a family, we will begin with vegetative character and also we go up to their advantages present in the family or the plants which are typically used by humans for their own purpose from this family. This much description, if you are by hearting, there will be a lot of confusion. That's why what we do, whenever I say this is a unique parameter regarding to this family, you try to underline it and try to notify and also try to remember such kind of unique feature belongs to that family. Are you catching the idea? They don't ask, for example, if I wanted to frame a question, I don't take a character that is common for all the families. If I wanted to ask about a Solanaceae family, what are the features unique for the Solanaceae family? Am I correct? So, such kind of unique feature, whenever I mention, you try to, and I will tell you, this is the feature belongs to only this family. This is not the character that is exhibited by only this family. I will represent. So, whenever I mention like that, you just underline and notify there itself. That would be fine. Otherwise, if I describe 6 to 7 families, if you wanted to by heart each and every character present in every family, there will be a lot of confusion. You know that. Am I right? Then come back to the story. If you have the old NCRT book, the family started with Fabaceae. If you have new NCRT book, it will be started with Solanaceae. Anyhow, first I will complete them. Then later we go with those families which are given as the syllabus under the NEET. Okay. First one, family Solanaceae. Imagine Solanaceae family, one of the most commonly studied dicot family. I will tell you what are the most commonly studied dicotyledonous families. See, first one, Solanaceae. Next one, Malvaceae. Malvaceae, our hibiscus family, China rose family, and also Fabaceae. Fabaceae is good because Fabaceae is required because it is the family that produces most of the pulses. Solanaceae is required because most of the vegetables are coming from Solanaceae family. Malvaceae, most of the plants which are economically value or belongs to the family Malvaceae. That's why these three families definitely to be mentioned. One more family is there, that is sunflower family, Asteraceae family. Asteraceae family is unique because this family has been mentioned as most advanced family among the dicots. Why it is most advanced family, later we will discuss. But let us talk about what are the common examples we will discuss under the name of monocot families. In this monocot families, largest family Poaceae. In fact, among all the dicots and monocot families, the largest family it has been mentioned as Poaceae. Most of the number of plants are present in Poaceae. Next one, Liliaceae. The members of Liliaceae very often commonly identified. That's why Poaceae, Liliaceae we will study as examples of monocot families. And when it comes to dicots, we study Fabaceae, Solanaceae. Already we mentioned one family, that is mustard family, Brassicaceae, Malvaceae and Asteraceae. Let us go with these two families, Solanaceae and Liliaceae. We will complete first the new NCRT content. Then on, I will begin the story of the other kind of families. It's a large family. Be careful, it's not largest. It's large family. Be careful. It's not largest. Large family. One of the members of dicots, large family. Commonly called potato family. Why it is potato family? Because among the members of Solanaceae, potato is world famous. Most of the members are eating it. Potato family. It is widely distributed in tropics, hot climatic condition, subtropic and in temperate zone. You can say it can be distributed in almost all kinds of climatic zones. Tropics, subtropic and temperate zone. All zones these plants can able to grow. Next one, vegetative characters. Plants mostly herbs, shrubs and rarely small trees. You do not see a large tree with more branches and woody stems in this plant, in this family. Plants are generally herbs, a plant that could be easily break down on their stem. That is most of the vegetable plants. And also they will be herbs, they will be growing like a bushy plants and small trees, but you never see in this family there is a plant which is large and gigantic. Stem herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branch, solid or hollow, hairy or glabrous, underground stem in case of potato can store food. Then one more time. Herbaceous, herbaceous, that means smooth stem, rarely woody. Actually, on the herbaceous and rarely woody there should be a comma. That comma has been missed, so be careful. Herbaceous is one feature and rarely woody is another feature. Next one, aerial. Remember, stems may be aerial, under the ground. Look at this, we have seen ginger, turmeric, banana, they all are having underground stems. Their stem never exposed to sun. Only the leaves can come out and expose to sun and perform photosynthesis, but their stem typically stays under the ground. They are called underground stems. Here, most of the members of potato family, so-called Solanaceae, stems are aerial. Rarely, stems are going to be underground. Be careful. You say in potato, stem store food under the ground. That's correct. But not entire stem. Be very careful. In the potato, only the branches that are near to soil, penetrate into the soil, and they are the one who are able to perform storage of the food. But the entire stem, like our ginger, turmeric, and other kind of plants, they do not store food entirely. Clear the statement? But only branches are storing food. If they are saying potato, what kind of stem? Aerial stem or underground stem? Generally, potato stems are aerial. Only the underground stem can able to store food. Is it clear? The stems of potato are aerial. Only the branches which are entered in the soil would be able to store food. Direct statement. Potato stems are mainly, the stem is aerial. Only the stems near to the ground, they store food. Branch, solid or hollow. What do you mean by solid? They are also saying erectus. Remember, there are two varieties of plants, creepy, another one is erectus. Creepy plants, like grass, they grow horizontally on the surface of soil. Erectus plant, they grow above the soil vertically. Such kind of plants are called erectus. Next one, solid and hollow. What do you mean by hollow? If you take some of the plants, in the middle they have hole. If you see bamboo, in the center they have a large hole. But if you cut a neem plant, in the center there is no any kind of hole. Those plants without hole are called solid. Those stems which are having hole in the middle, they are called hollow stems. Hairy or glabrous. What do you mean by hairy or glabrous? See, if you take the plants that are having hair on the stem, if you touch them, they are called trichomes. Exactly to say, stem hairs are nothing but trichomes. When you touch the stem, you can able to identify fine hair. There are some stems, there are no any kind of hair on the surface. Lack of hair is called glabrous. For example, take a bamboo, touch it, you don't find any hair, smooth. The hairless smooth appearance is called glabrous. Having hair is called hairy. Underground stems in potato store food. And again I am saying, potato may have underground branches, but the entire stem of potato is not under the ground. Next one, leaves. Alternate phyllotaxy. Leaves are simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate. Underline that word, exstipulate. Exstipulate. Stipules are absent. Do you remember who are stipules? At the Origin of the leaf, petiole. On the stem, two small leaf-like extensions are developing. They are called as stipules. Venation is reticulate. You need not to remember whether the venation is reticulate or parallel, because if you know this family belongs to dicot, it must be having reticulate venation. Next one, then go to common inflorescence character. Inflorescence, solitary, axillary cymose, as in case of solanum. What do you mean by solitary? When we were learning the inflorescence, we said if a shoot tip converted into single flower instead of developing into many flowers, if a shoot tip develop into single flowers, it's all single flower, it is always solitary. Single flower inflorescence. Sometimes it would be cymose, as in the case of our solanum, cymose. Cymose inflorescence, where the axis is going to end up with flower, and the young flowers are going to develop at the bottom of the main flower. That's called cymose inflorescence. And also flower, bisexual, actinomorphic. The things we know that bisexual flowers, actinomorphic flower, that it has radial symmetry, and sexuality is bisexual. Calyx. Sepals, 5, united. Underline that word, ma, united. Persistent. This is the word we cannot forget in our Solanaceae family. That is persistent sepals. What do you mean by persistent sepals? Even after the pollination, ovary has become fruit. On the top of the fruit, these sepals will be arranged. This is a special character in case of our Solanaceae family. And estivation is valvate estivation. Then you know that they are not overlapping with one another. Next, corolla. Petals, 5, united. We have to keep them under parenthesis. And valvate estivation. Both sepals and petals are exhibiting same kind of estivation. Next, androecium. Check it there. Stamens, 5. Whenever you talk about this word 5, do you remember one statement we have learned in earlier classes? A dicotyledonous family possesses either tetramerous or pentamerous flower, merosity. Monocot families generally possess trimerous flowers. Getting the idea? That's why 5, wherever you see, they are representing about dicotyledonous family. Next one, epipetalous stamens. Underline this. This is special. In case of Solanaceae family, epipetalous stamens. Stamens are attached to petals. This feature we will also find in case of Liliaceae, but totally different. In Liliaceae members, stamens will grow on the surface of tepals because they do not have sepals, petals separately. They have the conditions like sepals, petals united, they form perianth. So this is a special feature. Gynoecium, bicarpellary. This is also not very much special, but obligately placed. Actually, it's not obligately placed, it is obliquely placed. Obliquely, not obligately. Obligate means compulsory. They wanted to say about obliquely. What do you mean by obliquely? If you consider its gynoecium, it has bicarpellary. Here we have seen this bicarpellary gynoecium even in Brassicaceae members. There you said this side one carpel, this side another carpel, like this. But when you talk about Solanaceae member, same bicarpellary gynoecium, but they arranged in oblique type of arrangement. Obliquely. The axis slightly tilted. Okay? Obliquely, very important. This is special feature. In case of Solanaceae member, this is special. Syncarpus, if two or more, syncarpus, and superior ovary. As I said, except in the families that we are studying, that is Astraceae, remaining all will have superior ovary. Next one, bilocular, two locules are there. Placenta is swollen. Okay, I wanted to tell you about placenta. When you talk about placentation, this is ovary. There you will see like this. This represented axial placentation, but placenta is swollen. This is also a special feature. Placenta is swollen. Placenta is swollen. One thing, another thing you need to remember. Placentation also, if you wanted to represent, it would be represented in floral diagram. Placentation also we do not represent in floral formula. You got the idea? Next one. Fruits. Berry or capsule. Berry or capsule. And seeds. Many seeds. This is special. Special in case of Solanaceae family. Why? Because even though the members of Solanaceae are dicots, they have endospermic seeds. Presence of endospermic seed is not a typical character of dicotyledonous members. Solanaceae members, tomato, brinjal, potato, most of them are having endospermic seeds. Keep it in mind. Dicot family, Solanaceae is the only family that we are going to study right now in this criteria, that it has endospermic seeds. Next one. Floral formula, check it there. Actinomorphic flowers, bisexual flowers, sepals are 5, they are kept under the parenthesis. Petals are 5, they are kept under the parenthesis, that means they are gamopetalous. And here stamens are 5, but stamens are attached to petals. This phenomenon we call it as stamens are attached to petal. This phenomenon what do you call? Epipetalous condition. Next one, gynoecium. There are two which are kept under parenthesis, that means bicarpillary syncarpous gynoecium, and the line is running below. Below means gynoecium is superior gynoecium, flowers are hypogynous flowers. Next, economic importance of this family. Look at this. Many plants belongs to this family are source of food. Tomato, brinjal, potato. In that, spices, chili. Be careful, chili is the fruit that we use as spice. Chili is not vegetable. We use it as spice. Medicine. Atropha belladonna. Atropine. From the bark of the Atropha belladonna, they extract a chemical called atropine. Atropine commonly used for pupil dilation. There are some people who are having eye problems. To check properly the eye, the doctors add few drops of atropine, then it is going to make the pupil is going to be dilated. And also, atropine make the conditions of heart problems to be solved, which means, let me go with simple way. If anybody has heart palpitation means speeding of the heart, etc., problems. For them, in olden days, there has been a tablet, atropine tablet, because heartbeats will get slowed down by the action of atropine. Atropha belladonna. Belladonna plant release a chemical called atropine. Next one, ashwagandha. Ashwagandha. It is most commonly used digestive tonic. For variety of problems, they put ashwagandha. Fumigatory, tobacco, nicotiana tobacco that contains nicotine. Nicotine is used as excited chemical. And ornamentals, Petunia alba. This much only study. If you are studying about various things regarding to a family, that makes a lot of confusion. Whatever the thing given in NCERT book, try to go with that, and also try to learn the same content if it mentioned elsewhere in the NCERT book what they have described. That much information is enough. The remaining families I will discuss in the coming episodes. Any doubts do you have? Do we identify number of locules by floral diagram? Generally, in floral diagram, if you represented any kind of carpels, at the time, some of the floral diagrams they represent the locules, and floral diagram floral formula never going to represent any kind of locules. Only if they represent, only in floral diagram it is possible. Okay, very good. Okay, well done. We'll talk about the remaining things the coming episodes. Thank you.